Hello and welcome back to MTG Burgeoning, your channel for all things magic. In this video, we are going to update and upgrade our Morophon the Boundless Shapeshifter with Changeling EDH deck, one of the builds that currently resides in the Burgeoning Commander catalog. Greetings and salutations to the MTG You are the MTG Burgeoning community. Welcome back to another installment of the Up and Up series. And in this video, we are going to update and upgrade this Morophon the Boundless Shapeshifter with Changeling EDH deck, in addition to the corresponding Changeling pool. You can see the current deck list of this deck as it stands right now by skulking down in the description and clicking the link to tappedout.net. As mentioned prior to the opening credits, this is one of the decks that currently resides in the BCC, which is the Burgeoning Commander catalog, one of the playlists that you can find on our channel. So let's get right to it. We are about to expand the Changeling pool as we get closer and closer to having 100 different tribes represented from one of each of the participants in the Changeling pool. So let's get right to it. The 88th tribe to be represented in the Changeling pool, it is the Frog Tribe, and the Frog Tribe representative is Gralnak the Omnivore. Here we have a 3/3 frog for 2 in Simic colors, and whenever a frog we control attacks, we will mill 3 cards, and when a permanent card is put into our graveyard from our library, we may exile it with a Croak counter on it. We may play lands and cast spells from among cards we own in exile with Croak counters on them. So of course, since all of our Shapeshifters with Changelings are all creature types at all times, all of our changelings are also frogs. So if we turn any of those bad boys sideways into combat, we are going to set up a series of events that will allow us to have an extension of our hand that comes in the form of any permanent cards that go from our library into the graveyard, and then we exile them with some Croak counters on them. This should help us to continuously maintain tempo, getting more and more changelings onto the battlefield and eventually overwhelming our opponents. As you're going to see throughout this video, we are definitely trying to make the changeling pool even more powerful, but with one of the underlying purposes being tempo management. We want to make sure that we have cards in our hand. We want to make sure we can cast cards from other places so that we can continue to do so to grow the changeling army and eventually overwhelm those opponents. So tribe number 88 is the Frog Tribe. All right, the 89th tribe to be represented in the Changeling pool, well, it is the Slug Tribe. And here is Toxrill the Corrosive, a 7/7 slug horror for 5 and 2 black. At the beginning of each end step, we will put a slime counter on each creature we don't control. Creatures we don't control get -1/-1 for each slime counter on them. Outside of this being a great fit for our Changeling pool and representative of one of the new tribes, that alone is a very, very powerful ability as a way in which to control the battlefield. We can make sure that all of our opponent's creatures just get smaller and smaller until their toughness drops down to 0, at which point they're going to die. And that will open up the battlefield for our changelings to participate in combat without the fear of having to worry about blockers. So before we even continue with additional slug-related effects with Toxrill, just that ability alone is enough to warrant its inclusion in a lot of different black decks, or decks with black in them, I should say. So, for the purposes of our Changeling synergies, whenever a creature we don't control with a slime counter on it dies, we create a 1/1 black slug creature token, and then we can pay Dimir colors, sacrifice a slug to draw a card. Remember, all of our shapeshifters have Changeling. So if a creature has Changeling, they're also a slug. So although this is not really having a ton of synergy with the slug tribe, it does allow us to, participate in some combat chicanery or save some of our changelings that might get exiled or are heading to the graveyard anyway by paying a blue and a black and sacrificing them and putting another card into our hand. Similar to what we said with Gralnock, Toxbril here is going to help us with tempo, cards in our hand with the bonus, and let's not overlook this, with the bonus of throwing around those -1/-1 counters like nobody's business. All right, we're reaching the 90 tribe mark with the next creature, and the 90th tribe to be represented is the Worm Tribe. Here we go, MTGBC. It is Baru Wormspeaker. We have a 3/3 human druid for 2 and 2 green mana. And this legendary creature gives other worms we control, this gives worms we control +2/+2 and trample. That is a very, very sizable double Anthem effect in addition to some evasion. And in a deck that's going to win the majority of its games through combat, that is going to be an ability or set of abilities that is going to be welcomed in this deck with arms wide open. And lastly, we can pay 7 generic mana and a green and tap Baru Wormspeaker, and we can create a 4/4 green worm creature token. The best part about this is the ability cost X less to activate, where X is the greatest power among worms we control. So if we slowly shift Baru to the left a little bit, exposing Morophon over there, let's face it, if Morophon is on our side of the battlefield as well as Baru, then we only have to pay 1 green mana, because Morophon's going to come down as a 6/6, and it's going to get +2/+2 from the Wormspeaker here. So the synergies here with our commander and Baru Wormspeaker makes it so that we can just pay 1 green mana, tap this to create a worm creature token. And let's face it, it's a 4/4, but with Baru, it's a 6/6 with trample. That's going to be pretty sweet for us. So we welcome the Worm Tribe to the Changeling pool. All right, creature tribe number 91. That's right, folks. The hits keep on coming as we inch closer and closer to 100 different tribes represented in our Changeling pool. Tribe number 91, it is the Kobolds, and here we have a classic Roga, Carekeep Overlord. Of course, Roga is the papa of Rograk, and yes, Rograk, alongside with the Kiri Lineslinger, is one of the other EDH decks that currently resides in the Burgeoning Commander catalog. So great to have Papa Rogi entering into the BCC. So here we have a 4/4 legendary Kobold Warrior for 3 in Rakdos colors. This is going to give other Kobolds we control +2/+2. A double Anthem effect on one body is fantastic, particularly with the overall mana value of just 5. Roga, Carekeep Overlord, is definitely going to be one of those lords that we look to help close out the game. Ho, but we are not even close to being done yet. We still have 2 blocks of text to talk about when it comes to Roga. All right, block of text number 1. Whenever we cast a Kobold spell, we may pay an additional 2 generic mana. And if we do, we create a 4/4 red dragon creature token with flying. Again, all of our changelings are also kobolds, so if we have a cheaper changeling that we're trying to cast, why don't we just jam 2 more generic mana into it, and we can get a 4/4 flying red dragon to go alongside it. That is fantastic. Oh, but Roga is so not done yet. We still have another wall of text to go. Whenever we cast a dragon spell, we create a 0/1 red kobold creature token named Kobolds of Carekeep. So perhaps we don't even have the additional mana available to jam into the 2 generic mana tax to create the dragon. Remember, our shapeshifters are with Changeling are also dragons. So if we cast a dragon spell and don't have the additional mana, we're still going to create a kobold. It comes down as a 0/1, but with Roga on our side of the battlefield, it's a 2/3. Roga is going to provide such an amazing amount of synergy in this deck that it is very hard, it's very tempting not to have this just as part of the regular 99. As it stands right now, though, he will be creature number 91 in the Changeling pool, and he is going to represent the Kobold tribe, and he could end up becoming one of the most powerful, not just additions, but one of the most powerful creatures in that Changeling pool. All right, we're not done yet. So we've got frogs, slugs, worms, and kobolds. Number 92, the 92nd tribe to be represented in the Changeling pool, it is going to be the Griffin tribe. And here we have Zirium Golden Wind, a 3/4 Griffin for 3 and a white. It has flying, and whenever a Griffin we control deals combat damage to a player, we create a 2/2 white Griffin creature token with flying. So this is a little bit outside of what we've been doing so far with the first 4 new entrants into the Changeling pool. With Zirium here, remember, all of our Changelings are also Griffins, so if they can slip in for some combat damage as a Griffin, we will be able to create a 2/2 white Griffin creature token with flying. And if we can't, maybe the battlefield is flooded with blockers or walkers, Zirium itself has flying, so we can always turn it sideways, send it into combat, and create some more of those Griffin creature tokens. Here, we're looking to expand our hold on the battlefield by creating additional creature tokens. And with some luck, each and every one of those tokens, maybe under the guise of a Maskwood Nexus, end up becoming all creature types at all times. And if that is the case, remember, this is a Shapeshifter with Changeling deck that does feature the Maskwood Nexus. Oh, baby, that could be lights out for our opponents. It sure as well could be. All right, we're not done yet, folks. We're still going on the Changeling train. We have creature representative number 93, the 93rd different tribe to be represented in the Changeling pool, and it is the Tyrannid tribe from Warhammer 40k Commander decks. Here we have a 4/4 Tyrannid for 4 in Simic colors. It has flying and Ward 4. Ward 4, for anyone who's unfamiliar with what Ward is kind of like a hexproof ability, meaning that if any of our opponents targets Tyrannid Harridan with any spell, effect, or an ability, they need to pay an additional 4 generic mana, or that spell, effect, or ability will fizzle. Ward 4 is a pricey price to pay. pricey price to pay. All right, let's start rolling out the t-shirts with that as our first ever channel slogan. Okay, all right, moving forward here with the block of text. Whenever Tyrannid Harridan or another Tyrannid we control deals combat damage to a player, remember, all of our Changelings are also Tyrannids. We get to create a 1/1 blue Tyrannid Gargoyle creature token with flying. So similar to what Zirium was providing us, Tyrannid Harridan is also going to give us the ability to create more and more creature tokens. And again, if Maskwood Nexus is on our side of the battlefield, that's just going to help to create a massive, insurmountable army that our opponents will relent to because Morophon commands it. All right, Tyrannid Harridan is going in as number 93. All right, we've got one more creature to add to the Changeling pool, bringing our total up to 94 different tribes represented in our Changeling pool. And I do dare to challenge the MTGBC by going through the Changeling pool at tappedout.net and see if you can flesh out any of the tribes that are not currently represented that may need to find a representative to get closer and closer to that 100 mark. For the purposes of this video, this is the last creature going into the pool, and we've got some discussions to have about its role and exactly which tribe it's going to pilot. Pilot or lead? Let's go with lead. Well, the creature is the Archimandrite. It is a 0/5 legendary human advisor for 2 in Jeskai colors. And at the beginning of our upkeep, we gain X life, where X is the number of cards in our hand minus 4. This is like a fantastic reverse Black Vice ability. So with all of the additional card draw effects that we've put into this Changeling pool and deck over the last several installments of its appearance on the Up and Up series, we hope to be able to utilize that life-gaining ability as frequently as possible. And why? Because with the Archimandrite's second wall of text, whenever we gain life, each advisor, artificer, and monk we control gains vigilance and gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is the amount of life we gained. So at the beginning of our turn, 7 cards in our hand, all of our advisors, artificers, and monks are getting +3/+0 and vigilance until end of turn. That is a very, very powerful anthem, temporary anthem effect, because it's only until the end of turn. But with the amount of cards that we can have in our hand, the Archimandrite is going to trigger very, very frequently. And remember, all of our changelings are advisors, artificers, or monks at the time that this triggers. As if that wasn't enough, the very last ability the Archimandrite provides, we get to tap 3 untapped advisors, artificers, and or monks we control to draw a card. So he has its own ability. He provides an ability that allows us to get those cards into our hand as long as we have enough advisors, artificers, and or monks to utilize it. The Archimandrite is going in as our, what is it? What's your 7? As our 94th creature representative. But we just don't know which tribe it's going to represent, because it can be an advisor. It could lead the advisors, it could lead the artificers, or it could lead the monks. And neither of those 3 tribes are currently represented in the Changeling pool. For my money, I am going to go with advisors, because I like to think that of those 3 options, advisor seems to be the least popular potential tribe, or not potential tribe, the least popular tribe. I mean, I can foresee there sometime in the future being like a monk lord or an artificer lord, but an advisor lord, that one I'm not so sure about. So for the purposes of where we stand right now, the Archimandrite is going to go into the Changeling pool representing the 94th tribe, and that tribe is going to be the advisors. All right, so we came into this video with 87 different tribes in our Changeling pool. Now 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, and 94. There you have it, MTG BC. I want you to let me know your thoughts about these additions in the comments section below. This is MTG Burgeoning, your channel for all things magic.